Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another field strip video. And the firearm that we're going to be field stripping today is kind of a famous one. In fact, it's probably one of the most spectacular fails in the firearms manufacturing world ever. But this is a gun that a lot of people know from a television show called Miami Vice, and this is the Dornaus Dixon Bren Ten. It's kind of the OG pistol for 10mm. It was made in the late 1970s and early 1980s. It was made in collaboration with Colonel Jeff Cooper of Gunsight fame, and they tried to get together with him to create a gun that would perform better and be easier to manufacture than the 1911. So essentially this was a gun that I think they were trying to convince the military eventually to adopt after the 1911. The name Bren Ten comes from both the caliber and the capacity, and this gun has one of the very rare 10mm marked magazines. Many of the magazines that came with these guns early on were not marked, and they were good for both 45 and 10mm, but there were many problems with those, and only a few of the real 10mm magazines that were redesigned were ever kind of released. So it's really cool to have one of those for this firearm. Now, Jeff Cooper and this company tried to pretty much beef up the CZ75. And here I have my CZ75B Retro, and you can definitely see how both of those pistols have very similar looks to them. The controls are the same. You can see the grip angles are the same. They're both double action, single action. And I do think they took a couple of design features from other guns that were very popular at the time. One that a lot of people don't mention is the Sig Sauer P210, and I mention that because if you look at the rear of the slide here, we have this elevated section for the sight, which really does match the P210. Not many firearms have that, and this of course is a very respected firearm for accuracy and reliability used in the Swiss military. And this gun also utilizes a barrel bushing, and the recoil spring assembly, when we get it apart, will be very reminiscent of a 1911. So let's go ahead and field strip this gun. It comes apart very similar to a CZ75, but first let's drop this magazine. Of course, ensure there is no ammunition in it. And of course, we will safety check the firearm. Look into that chamber. It looks like we are good. So now, unlike the CZ platform where you pull the slide back and there's going to be a little notch you need to line up, you just don't get the notch here. So you pull the slide back just a little bit and you can push through the slide stop from this side, and you'll know when the slide is back where it should be because that will just pop through. It can be a little bit tricky to find, and let's see if I can do it here. I've done it a couple times. And there it goes. And there is your slide stop. Now the slide will come off the front of the firearm. Here is your frame. Pretty standard fare. Set that aside. Now let's take out the recoil spring. This is kind of like a Browning high power here in the back, but you'll notice when I pull this out, there's a plug just like a 1911. It kind of looks like that. And I think they borrowed that from the 1911. And of course we have the barrel, which can come out the rear. And we have a very interesting single locking lug on that. Now this portion of the barrel definitely looks like a Browning high power. But we do have that barrel bushing in the front, and that is not supposed to come out. There is a tool that will take that out. It is replaceable, but it's not part of the standard field strip. So that is a field strip of the Bren Ten, a very rare pistol. It's kind of famous, very collectible, but some people think it is an absolute failure because they only made 1,400 of them and they couldn't keep up with demand, and they had a lot of magazine problems. So you can even take apart the recoil spring just a little bit further by taking off, oh, almost dropped it there, the little plunger, but that's pretty much about it. And there is the guide rod. So that would be the complete field strip. So let me go ahead and clean this thing up because I'm just getting it back from the range, and then we're going to put it back together. So we got all the parts of this Bren Ten cleaned up and ready to go back together. We'll start with the slide. We'll put the barrel in through the rear just like a modern pistol. Then we will put together our recoil spring assembly. The flat end of the spring will go over the guide rod, and the other side we'll take the plug and you can kind of screw that on. Then we will put this into the slide. This can be a little bit tricky because this guide rod is so short, and as you compress the spring this can bend. So some people have a little bit of trouble with this, and I got it the first time. So it goes like that. It's really hard to get it on there straight. Now, like a CZ75, this gun does have inverted rails. So we'll put the slide on from the front, and it should come all the way back. And then we will put our slide stop in once we pull the slide back just a little bit, and you'll be able to see that channel through there get clear, and everything should line up. So let's put this through first and then rest it up right where that hole is going to go. And when you pull the slide back just far enough, it should slide all the way through. And now the gun is back together. And of course, let's put the magazine in and function check the firearm. And it looks like we are good. So no problems there. So that is how you field strip and take apart a Bren Ten by Dornaus Dixon. A very rare gun and a really cool gun. It's very collectible, but many people think it was one of the great failures because they made so few of them, they weren't able to keep up with demand, and the magazines in these things were known to be unreliable and kind of sucked. But it is a famous television gun. So let me know what you think about the Bren Ten, and I hope this field strip helps somebody in the future. So, as always, thanks for watching.